Okay, so good morning. We'll be starting with the next topic in your refrigeration system. Maybe in the previous class, we looked at the air refrigeration. Moving forward, we'll try to compare the air refrigeration and vapor compression systems and the vapor absorption systems. And that we'll do in the later classes. Now, vapor compression refrigeration system. What is it actually? See, I am going to use a refrigerant in place of air to get my refrigeration or what to cool the place, what we call it as evaporator in this particular thing. Now, in the vapor refrigeration system, what we are going to do is actually we will be cooling a place called as evaporator. Okay, this is the evaporator where we are going to absorb the heat. It is absorbed by the refrigerant. The heat is absorbed by the refrigerant, and then the heat will be taken away with the refrigerant, and this will be at a particular rate. So it enters, let's say, for example, if I call this enters at some lower temperature, and it will be at slightly higher temperature because of the absorption of the heat actually. Then straight away, what is that particular temperature and the pressure? See, the pressure is low here. So even though here the pressure is low, I'm going to absorb the heat at low pressure. I can't reject the heat at the low pressure and high temperature. To do that, what we try to do, we try to compress it to a higher pressure here. We try to compress it in a higher pressure. That is the refrigerant. Now, when I compressing, automatically the temperature also will try to increase. The temperature also will try to increase, and then I will try to reject the heat. So here I am going to reject. So heat rejection will take place in the condenser. The heat rejection takes place in the condenser, which is at a higher pressure and higher temperature. Then once this particular heat is rejected, I can't allow the refrigerant to enter your evaporator. They are the same. See, even though after rejecting the heat, even though the temperature may reduce, but your pressure is still very high. With that pressure, I can't enter the evaporator. To do this, actually, we will have an expansion device. Okay, an expansion device. So nowadays we are using expansion valve. But if you look at some of the refrigerators of 1980s, 90s and all, so we used to have a capillary tube as an expansion device in place of your expansion valve. So what this expansion valve or capillary tube will do, will try to reduce your high pressure refrigerant, and it will reduce it to a lower pressure. So after expanding, the pressure will become low. So this cycle will continue. That means evaporator will absorb the heat at low pressure and low temperature, and the temperature will increase. So now with that particular low pressure and high temperature, refrigerant will enter the compressor. So in the compressor, after compression, it is compressed to a high pressure and high temperature. So here my temperature after compression will be the highest possible temperature. So once it's at a very high temperature and pressure, it will go to the condenser where the refrigerant is cooled to a lower temperature, but the pressure is still at the high. Then it is passed through an expansion valve or a capillary tube or an expansion device to reduce the pressure to lower pressure, and then it is sent to evaporator. This will continue, this cycle will continue. This is how your refrigerator will work. Okay, this is the thing. Now, this is a block diagram of it. Let us look at the how your pH diagram. I have been telling you that when we go to the refrigeration system, we will try to look at two different charts. One is pH chart, that is pressure enthalpy diagram, and TS diagram. Let's try to write it. pH and TS diagrams. TS diagrams for vapor compression system. Vapor compression refrigeration system. This is what we need to understand how this will work. Now let's try to put the pH chart first. Okay, let us try to put the pH chart, that is pressure, enthalpy. The pH chart. Okay, let's have the pressure on y-axis and enthalpy on the x-axis. This is what it is. And here I do have a dome. Okay, the dome will be something like this, because I am trying to deal with some kind of a refrigerant, which is also kind of a substance. There is a phase change. Okay. Now, if I try to represent the process on it, heat absorption, say somewhere the refrigerant is not completely, see, after expansion, the refrigerant will be, it will be a little bit wet actually. Somewhere it has to start. So it will be going from this particular point and it will be absorbing the heat. Okay, it will be absorbing the heat. I will show you what are the different properties, what are the different things that can happen on the pH chart. Okay, if suppose this is point 1, point 1 is the entry to your evaporator. Point 1 is the entry to the evaporator, and I have two different conditions. So if it is completely dry, I am going to reach point 2. Okay, then this is compressed. Okay, this is compressed to a higher pressure in the compressor. So this is my compression process 2.3. Then the heat rejection takes place here till reaches this particular point. It may be wet or whatever it may be. So let me move this point, because this is purely an isentropic process. This is purely an isentropic process. So your 1 will be here. Okay. This is the 1. So this is your heat rejection. This is your 0.4, and this is your expansion. This is your heat addition process. Okay, this is your heat addition process, that is heat absorption. This is your compression. This is your heat rejection, and this is your expansion. Anyhow, it is in the expansion wall, it is purely, there is no work done here. Because I'm going to use a capillary tube or something, there is no, simply the fluid is, or the refrigerant is allowed to pass through a small hole. Okay, through a small hole, so that it expands to a lower pressure. See, if you closely look at it, actually, the condition of the refrigerant at the end of evaporation, if it is dry, it is really good. Suppose if the condition of the refrigerant is not dry, if it is wet, I'll maybe going, see, I'll be following this path. If the condition of the refrigerant at the end of your evaporation, if it is dry saturated, that is, if it is superheated, I'll be going to this particular point. I'll tell you what is the advantage of it if you go for this thing. So let me call this as a 2 dash, this as 3 dash, this as 2 double dash, this as 3 double dash. What is it? Now, see, heat absorbed, the area under the curve. This will look at this. The area under this curve. Okay. Now, if I try to see, this is the heat absorbed. This is the amount of heat absorbed by the refrigerant in the evaporator. This is the amount of heat absorbed, area under this particular pressure enthalpy, because that is, this is what I'm going to get it. Same thing I can check it under TS diagram also. If I put a TS diagram, that I'm going to get. If it is wet, actually, I'll be reducing, I'll be getting less amount of it. Look at this. If it is wet, actually, what will happen? This amount of quantity gets reduced. Look at this. This amount of quantity gets reduced if it is wet condition. Suppose if I go for a superheated condition, that means the amount of heat absorbed is very high. Then what will happen? I'll be getting this extra amount of heat added. That means I see if the capability, what is the purpose of the refrigerant? As I told, refrigerant should be able to absorb more amount of heat. It should absorb more amount of heat from your evaporator. Okay, more amount of heat I need to evaporator. What is all these things will improve? All these things will improve your coefficient of performance. What is COP? It is very similar to your efficiency of your engine. Coefficient of performance means I am going to absorb more amount of heat by getting less amount of work. Or for the same amount of work done, I'll be absorbing more amount of it. So you are going to say, for example, you have a refrigerated space at your home. If I'm able to get the same work, more amount of it, maybe instead of 100 kilojoules, if I'm able to remove 120 kilojoules for the same input of 1 kilowatt, my COP is more. 100 by maybe or 1 kilowatt, I'll be say 100 kilowatt by something, 1 HP or 1 kilowatt what the power you are supplying, your COP will be around 1 or something. If I'm able to do 120 kilowatts of heat, if I try to remove it, my COP will become automatically for 1.2. So coefficient of performance will automatically improve with an increase in my exit temperature of your evaporator. Okay, exit temperature automatically this will improve. Now, if I try to put a TS diagram for the same conditions, let's try to put a TS diagram, temperature, entropy diagrams. This is my temperature, entropy, and I'm going to put the dome very similar to what we put it for your pH chart. I'm going to put a dome. This will indicate that it is a pure substance kind of a thing. Now here also, I need to see the process 2 to 3 is actually what it is. It is isentropic. I'm going to start some point 1. See, the point 1 is somewhere here. So I'm going to represent the same thing on the your TS diagram. Let me go it actually. Okay. Suppose if I'm going to a point, okay, this is your point 1 and this is your point 2. If it is something like isentropic compression, it is purely a vertical line. Look at this. This is a purely a vertical line. Okay, I'm going to very higher this thing. So I'll be going to a point like this. This is in your superheated condition. Then if I want to come back to our represent it on this particular thing, on a particular pressure, it will be like this. Okay, this is how you have to go. So this is the pressure actually. This is the pressure curve. This is your pressure curve on your TS diagram. This is your pressure curve on your TS diagram. If I go for a superheated condition, that is 2 double dash, I'll be going like this. I have to represent it like this. If it is a wet condition, okay, if it is a wet condition, so that I may be reaching to simply a dry point or some other point. Okay, I may be reaching to some other point. So dry condition. This is how it is. So I'll be reaching each and every point. Each and every point are from the, if I'm reaching from wet condition to superheated condition, this is how it is. So I can represent anywhere 2 dash, 2 double dash like this. That is your 2. This is your 2 dash, 2 double dash. This is your 3, 3 double dash, 3 dash. Now, this is a heat rejection process. Okay, I can go like this. This is your point 4. And 4 to 1 is not isentropic. It is simply a free expansion process. So I have to show it on the dotted line because there is no work done. And this is a simple expansion process like this. And this particular area, so under this, so once again I can show this is your heat addition. Okay, for each thing I can show whatever I did, no, the same thing I can do. This is 1, this is 2 dash. Okay, this is your, look at this, this is the heat, whatever I'm trying to show it on my pH chart, I'm trying to show here also. Okay, I can show for each and everything, for each process, that is whether it is dry saturated at the end of your expansion, sorry, your evaporation. So this is the amount of heat I'm trying to remove more, which is an advantage if you have a superheated vapor at the end of your evaporation. So a simple pH chart and a TS diagram. So the condition, you can put whatever the condition. So if they give the condition, so if they tell that vapor compression refrigeration system for a dry condition at the end of the evaporation, so just to go with 1, 2, 3, 4. If it is a wet condition, it will be 1, 2 dash, 3 dash, 4. If it is a super wet condition, it will be 1, 2 double dash, 3 double dash, 4. Is it clear? I put a very simple sketch so that you people don't get confused, and I put the color representation to indicate the heat absorption. So this is also the heat absorption, and this is your heat rejection in the condenser. So I have the evaporator at the bottom, lower pressure, and your compressor and your maybe your condenser at the higher pressure. Expansion valve is in between high pressure and low pressure. This is a simple block diagram, and then you have to put this PV, pH diagram and TS diagram and explain whatever I told. Is that clear? Any doubts? Hello? You guys are there?
No doubt, sir.
Okay, is it clear? So I have made it as simple as possible. Okay, fine. Now let us go for mathematical expression. So expression for coefficient of performance. Expression for coefficient of performance or COP. Coefficient of performance or COP. What it is actually. So we know that from the second law of thermodynamics, COP is defined as heat absorbed by work done or work supplied. Work done or work supplied. Now let us go back and see here. What is your heat absorption? It is H2 minus H1. What is your work supplied? It is H3 minus H2. Okay, now let us try to write it. So heat supplied is equal to heat absorbed, it's Q absorbed divided by work done is W. Let's write it. So in terms of enthalpy, in terms of enthalpy, heat supplied, that is heat absorbed, is equal to H2 minus H1. Then similarly, work done W is equal to H3 minus H2. If I call this as equation 1, if I call this as equation 2, if I call this as equation 3, substitute 2 and 3 in equation 1 to get the expression for COP. So therefore, COP is equal to H2 minus H1 divided by H3 minus H2. This is a simple expression for your coefficient of performance. This is a simple expression for coefficient of performance. Okay. Now, when you have this coefficient of performance, this Q absolute or Q absorbed is also called as refrigerating effect. In case of refrigerator, what we try to do, the heat absorbed, okay, the heat absorbed is also referred as refrigerating effect. Refrigerating effect. What is the refrigerating effect? It is the amount of heat removed, or what is the amount of refrigeration that is produced. So the refrigeration effect, so some textbooks actually, instead of heat removed, they call this as refrigerating effect. So COP is also the ratio of COP of a refrigerator. Okay, let me write that also. So COP of refrigerator is equal to refrigerating effect. Refrigerating effect divided by work done. So definitions are same. Only thing is it may vary from textbook to textbook. This is simple. See, someone asks you, come on, explain a vapor compression refrigeration system. Put this block diagram. Explain the four components. Evaporator, which is used to remove the heat, absorb the heat. Compressor, to compress the refrigerant from a higher temperature to, that is from a lower pressure to higher pressure, resulting in high pressure and temperature. Then we have a condenser. The condenser is used to remove the heat from higher temperature to lower temperature at a same pressure, at a higher pressure. Then the expansion valve or expansion device is to remove or reduce the pressure from high pressure to low pressure. Explain each and everything component wise, you are done. And put this pH diagram and TS diagram and try to explain and get the expression for COP. That's all they can ask as a definitions or some kind of a thing. 5-6 marks they can ask about vapor compression refrigeration system. Is that clear? Now, if you closely observe your pH chart or your refrigeration system, there are many things we can do in your vapor compression system. There are many factors which can affect your refrigeration system. See, this is called as, see, this is your low pressure. Let me write that. Let me write that. Factors affecting refrigeration system. Factors affecting refrigeration system. Okay. First factor, effect of suction pressure. Effect of suction pressure, or you can call that as evaporator suction pressure or evaporator pressure, to be very precise. Okay. Effect of evaporator pressure. Let's try to understand from the pH diagram what it is actually. Now, if I try to put a pH chart, this is my pressure enthalpy diagram, and let me put the dome. Okay. Let me put the dome. The dome is something like this. Okay. Usually this is how it is actually, pH chart. Now let me write it. See, let me put that. This is your, let me put dry saturated condition itself. 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. Okay. This is from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, then 4 to 1. So what is this particular pressure? This is your, what we call it as P1, and this is your P2. So P1 is your evaporator pressure. Now what will happen if I reduce this pressure? So if this particular pressure is going down, instead of this particular point, if it is at a lower pressure, what will happen to your refrigerating effect is one particular thing which we are going to study. Now what I'm going to do actually, I will try to use a different color and see, I will try to draw a brown color point here. Look at this. Okay, this particular thing. And then try to go here. This particular thing will slightly, this is how it is. It will go to this particular point. Okay, instead of this particular point, it will go to this particular point. Okay, let me call this as 1 dash, and so let me call this as 1 dash, 2 dash, and 3 dash. Now what has happened, if you closely observe the area under this curve, I clearly told that the area under this curve. So which area I'm speaking of? This area. Look at this. So now this particular area is a different color. So this is the area. For 2, this is the thing, and for 2 dash, this is the thing. So if I try to see if there is a decrease in the pressure, the amount of heat absorbed has come down. Simply what I did actually, I didn't do anything. I reduced the suction, or your, what we call it as the pressure. The pressure of your operating pressure of your evaporator is brought down simply. The decrease in the evaporator pressure will decrease your work done, or refrigerating effect will decrease your heat absorption. At the same time, look at the length of this 2 dash to 3 dash. There is an increase in the work done. Okay, now COP for this cycle, regular cycle, it is what it is actually. COP, regular cycle, it is actually, it is H2 minus H1 divided by your H2 minus, sorry, H3 minus H2. H3 minus H2. This is the regular thing, what we had a COP. Now, the COP due to decrease in evaporator pressure. Decrease in evaporator pressure. What it will be? This will be H2 dash minus H1 dash divided by H3 dash minus H2 dash. Okay. Now, if you closely observe what's happening, there is, see, this is your H1, this is your H2 dash, H2. What is your H2 dash 3? This is your H2. What is your H2 dash C? I can write H2 minus H1 is equal to, see what's happened, there is a drop in my, see, there is a drop in my enthalpy. At the same time, there is an increase in my work done. So it clearly shows that the refrigerating effect, I can write that the refrigerating effect is reduced or decreased, and the work required as increased. The net effect is actually, what is what will happen? The net effect. So because of this, therefore, the net effect will reduce the COP. Okay, the net effect will reduce the COP of the refrigeration system. So you should not reduce your evaporator pressure randomly, drastically. The moment you reduce the evaporator pressure, then definitely the refrigerating effect will go down. Now let us see what will happen if I try to increase the delivery pressure. Okay, the effect of decreasing the what we call it as your evaporator pressure is there. So what will happen if I try to increase the pressure on the condenser? Second thing, effect of increasing the condenser pressure or delivery pressure, what we call effect of increasing the condenser pressure. Let us try to draw the pH diagram. Let's try to take the same pH diagram. What I'm going to do here actually, so I'm going to okay, this is what I have actually. This is your pH diagram, whatever I have. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to increase your delivery pressure. So how I can do that? So this particular pressure is there, no? This particular thing, I will try to go to the next point, and then I'm going to come to this particular point. So this will be 3 dash, that's at higher pressure, and then so I can see this will be from 1 dash. Anyhow, your point 2 remains the same. I'm going to increase your delivery pressure or your condenser pressure from, see, look at this, this is your P2, but this will be your P2 dash. Now if I try to look at it, this is 1. See, this is 1, and this is my refrigerating effect. This was my refrigerating effect earlier. This was my refrigerating effect. Okay, so now this is the amount of drop in my refrigerating effect if I try to increase the delivery pressure. Effect of increasing the condenser pressure. Earlier it was H2 minus H1 by H3 minus H2. Now the COP of the cycle when delivery pressure is increased, what will happen? This will be H2 minus H1 dash divided by H3 dash minus H2. I am doing, see, the effect of increasing the delivery pressure or is just similar to the effect of decreasing your evaporator pressure. What do you mean by overall effect is actually the refrigerating effect will get reduced, work done will increase. Okay, very similar effect. So your regular COP, what it is actually, your COP it is actually, it's as per equation number 1. So COP due to increase in evaporator pressure. See, COP due to increase in Sir, condenser pressure. Condenser pressure. So what it is actually? The COP will be equal to your refrigerating effect, that is H2 minus H1 dash divided by H3 dash minus H2. Okay. So the effect of increasing, so the refrigerating effect is decreased. The refrigerating effect is decreased, and the work requirement has increased, resulting in the net drop in COP of the refrigeration system. So whether you increase the pressure on condenser or decrease the pressure on evaporator, the refrigerating effect will get reduced. Now overall, that is the COP also will get reduced. So what is the conclusion? Simply you can't decrease the pressure and increase the pressure on evaporator side and increase the pressure on the condenser side. It has to be done in an optimal way. It has to be optimized. So whether with respect to the condenser or with respect to evaporator, it has to be done properly. Until and it is properly done, it is some waste of energy, because you are doing more amount of work. Now, two more things are there. One is, what will happen if I have the effect of superheating? Okay, effect of superheating the fluid in your evaporator. Okay, the third point, effect of superheating. What it is actually? Let us try to put the pH chart for this also. Already I explained this actually in my regular this thing, but still I am trying to separately I am trying to explain. So here, what will happen? So this is what I have actually. 1, 2, 3, 4 is a regular thing. Now I'm going to superheat. Means amount of heat absorbed in your evaporator is more. Okay, I'm going to, if I do that, I'm going to move from 2 to 2 dash. Look at this, 2 to some point 2 dash. That's along the same straight line. Instead of starting at 2 dry condition, I'll go to the next condition. Then I'll go to the straight line. Then I'll go to this particular point, and so this is my 2 dash, this is my 3 dash. Okay, now if I try to look at this and see what's happening. So there in the previous two condition, the amount of heat absorbed was getting less, but here it has increased. Okay, the effect of superheating the refrigerant, or the amount of heat absorbed in your refrigerant in your evaporator, will increase the refrigerating effect. But at what? Actually the same work done. So, but there is a slight, see, is at a cost of increase in amount. So there is a slight increase in the work. H3 minus H2 and H3 dash minus H2 dash, there will be a slight increase in it. But still, the increase in the work is more as compared to increase in the refrigerant. Therefore, overall superheating is to give a lower value of soup. They have found it actually. Okay, by superheating it actually, but still we are trying to, somewhere we have to try to compensate it. Somewhere you have to compensate. The effect is, see, when we try to superheat, even though we are trying to absorb more amount of heat, but the amount of work done actually from 3 H3 dash minus H2, or this also will slightly increase. Will slightly increase because these lines are not parallel. You have to assume, you have to see that these lines are not parallel. They will be diverging. So effect of increasing superheating may slightly increase your refrigerating effect. Okay, will be slightly increasing your refrigerating effect, but still the amount of work done may be slightly increasing. So instead of COP from 1 to 1.5, your COP may become 1.6. Superheating, by superheating, COP of the refrigeration system will increase slightly. That's why we try to absorb this. We try to do this particular thing. Now let's try to write it actually. Now the effect of, okay, the effect of superheating. So is the regular COP, the COP due to COP due to superheating, due to superheating of the fluid in the evaporator, in the evaporator. What it is actually? COP is equal to H, heat absorbed is H2 dash minus H1 divided by H3 dash minus H2 dash. Okay. Now one thing I can tell, the refrigerating effect has increased. The refrigerating effect has increased, and the work requirement also, there may be slight there, and the work requirement has increased. Maybe it may remain same, or it may be work requirement may remain same. Required may remain same. So the COP will increase due to superheating. Maybe the last one, the effect of subcooling. Effect of subcooling. What it is actually? So let me take the same figure, pH chart. So here I'm not going to do any superheating. I'll come towards the point 4. Okay, I'm going to subcool. So I'm going to move in this direction and I will come to this particular point. So in here, this is my 4 dash and this is my 1 dash, and I could see that this is the what I'm going to get it. So I'm going to get an increase in work done like this. So this is the amount of, increase in refrigerating effect. The effect of subcooling. So subcooling is the process of, what it is actually? Subcooling is the process of cooling. Okay, subcooling is a process of cooling your fluid, cooling the liquid refrigerant below its condensing temperature. So what I'm going to do, instead of stopping at 0.4, I will go to 4 dash. Okay, the process of subcooling is between 4 to 4 dash. So I can clearly see from the evident from the pH chart that there is an increase in the refrigerating effect. So this subcooling will result in increase in COP at the same work done. So here also, if you look at it, even though, see, your two in your superheating, your 2 to 3 and 2-3 days, they are not parallel, but they're slightly diverging. There can be slight improvement may remain. So instead of 100 kilojoules of heat I'm supplying, it may be 1 or 2 kilojoules. But still, the amount of refrigerating effect has increased, so there is an increase in COP. But in case of subcooling, what is the advantage? For the same work done, I'll be having a better refrigerating effect. Only thing is I have to do a little bit of move the subcooling point from 4 to 4 dash. Instead of stopping at the liquid, I have to go a little down actually. Now, subcooling under how it can be done. So what they do is actually, other than this expansion device, they are going to have something called as a special coil between your condenser and expansion this thing. Or what they do is actually either do this particular thing or more quantity of water. Okay, the condenser, there the desired amount of quantity of water is there to cool it. Your fluid is there. What they do is, other than to do the subcooling, they use a higher density fluid. Okay, because water is denser than air, so water is used as a subcooling agent. I'll write that also. So now COP due to subcooling. COP due to subcooling of the refrigerant. So what will be the COP for this? This will be H2 minus H1 dash divided by same work H2 minus H1. So the refrigerating effect has increased. The refrigerating effect has increased for the same work done. For the same work input. The COP, so the COP will increase. Now, how this particular thing subcooling is done? Let me write that. The subcooling is done by the following methods. By the following methods. Two methods is commonly followed. Let me write one. First method, inserting a special coil. Inserting a special coil between condenser and expansion valve or the expansion device. They're going to put a special coil to cool it further. That's one methodology which is commonly used. And the second methodology is circulating large quantities of water. Okay, large quantities of water through the condenser. When your condenser is cooled by air actually, but what they do is to do this subcooling effect, to have this subcooling effect, they're going to use the large quantity of water and they will try to